You've sent in your resume and cover letter, the employer was impressed, and now they've contacted you to set up an interview. The MU Career Center is here with tips and resources to assist with this interview beginning to end. Going into any interview, it's important to understand what employers are looking for and how you can stand out. First, they want to know that you can do that job specifically and can prove it to them through examples that show off your strengths and skills. They also want to see that you're interested in their organization by doing your homework and connecting your interest to their goals. Lastly, your genuine enthusiasm and eagerness to be there goes a long way. Be sincere and show off your true self. We are going to talk about how you can accomplish all of these as we help you to get ready, answer questions effectively, and finish strong. Along with your experience and qualifications, first impressions are extremely important to help an employer feel positively about you. Hopefully you've done some research on the employer before you send in your resume for consideration, but add to it by reviewing the job description and required qualifications thoroughly, and make note of where you can provide examples to show you can do those tasks given. Go online to find any information you can about the employer, including their mission, values, the communities that they're in, and who they serve. LinkedIn is a great resource, both in reviewing the company page as well as to research the current employees if available. If they have any other social media presence through platforms like Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram, it's a great idea to go ahead and start following them if you haven't already. Lastly, an excellent research resource is Glassdoor, which provides information like company reviews, salary data, interview tips, and more for many companies and organizations. Planning ahead requires you to know where the interview location is and to manage your time so that you are walking in the door ideally 15 minutes early before the scheduled time. The same rule applies with online interviews. Be in front of the screen and logged in early. While you're interviewing, be aware of how you're presenting yourself and interacting with the employer. Simple things like a firm, confident handshake, sitting up straight, maintaining good eye contact, and smiling while you're introducing yourself all show off that confidence and preparation. Speaking of preparation, practicing as much as possible will allow you to be ready for anything. First, use the online resources from the MU Career Center and connect with a career specialist to get some great general tips and feedback. Practice commonly asked questions and questions related to the position in mock interviews with someone that you trust. Lastly, an incredibly helpful resource is one that's available 24/7. It's Big Interview, a tutorial and practice platform where you can build question sets, record your answers, find interview tips and ideas, and more. Check out missouri.biginterview.com for more information. One great way to go into any interview feeling confident is to know how to look and what to bring. For interview attire, the general rule is to dress business professional unless you're told otherwise. This includes a suit, professional shirt or blouse, nice shoes, and keeping extra accessories to a minimum. For some visual ideas on men, women, and gender-neutral attire, check out the MU Career Center's Pinterest boards. Plan on bringing extra copies of your resume, cover letter, and a list of references in case they are needed. If required for your industry, bring your portfolio or writing samples with you as well. Lastly, if you plan on bringing a phone, make sure it's turned off completely so you aren't tempted to look at it while you're waiting and so it doesn't go off unexpectedly during the interview. You should be locked in on only this interview as soon as you walk in the door. After all of your great research and preparation, it's time to focus on the questions you will most likely be asked and strategies about how to answer them to show off your strengths and enthusiasm. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Almost every interview starts off with this question, and it really sets the stage for the entire interview. It's really important to know how to proceed. It's a good idea to keep this answer short and strong, around 30 seconds. Consider framing your answer in a past, present, future context. Here's an example. Briefly introduce a small detail or two about your background and how you got here. Keep this information academic or professionally oriented. Move it into the present and talk about what you're engaged in currently and what's most relevant to the position. In this example, they mentioned a bit about their academic and work background. Connect your experience to the employer or position like they did here. End with a quick transitional phrase that alerts the employer that you're ready to get started, like thanking them for having you there. The tell me about yourself question is one of the frequently asked open-ended questions aimed at helping the employer understand you better, as well as what you've done to show that you're interested in them. Other examples include, why are you a good fit? Or how does your past relate to the position? Connect what you know about the organization and job to how you think you can best contribute. When they ask why they should hire you, this is your chance to reiterate your unique strengths and give them a pitch about your eagerness to learn and grow there. If they ask what you know about them, they're testing to see if you've done your research ahead of time. Don't just repeat what's on their website. Give them information that you found and what you think about it. Where do you see yourself in 5 or 10 years? This is your opportunity to talk about your goals and where you see your education and experience taking you. Employers like to know about your work ethic and how you stay engaged in your work, so describe how your motivation propels you to do a consistently good job. Finally, most interviews will ask you to articulate your strengths and weaknesses, and it's important for you to reflect on how you would answer. When talking about your strengths, you aren't just throwing out a few words. You are providing several of your top talents and backing each up with a unique description that's genuine to you. If applicable, talk about how you've been recognized for these strengths, and don't forget to connect them. For the weakness question, an employer is finding out if you're aware and interested in areas of self-improvement. Give an example of something you know is not in your wheelhouse. Think about your strengths and what the shadow side might be to what you're really great at. Stay away from fluffy answers like, I care too much, or I work too hard, or red flag answers like, I'm often late, or I tend to procrastinate. With whatever example you provide, follow it up with ways you're managing this weakness so it doesn't get in the way of your success. In addition to open-ended questions, behavioral questions help employers determine how your past experience will help you do the job for which you're interviewing. Behavioral questions tend to start with a phrase like, tell me about a time when you, or describe a situation where. The employer wants you to talk about a specific experience that relates to areas of your future job. In addition to practicing how to answer particular questions, prepare a wide range of stories that aren't necessarily attached to a question, but are just generally good examples of your accomplishments, your interactions, work ethic, and more. Many of these stories could be interchangeable to several different types of questions. Consider creating good stories about times when you've solved a problem or overcame an obstacle. When was a time when you failed? How do you handle mistakes? When were you adaptable and had to do something out of your comfort zone? What did you learn? When did you lead a group or a project, and what kind of leader are you? When did you contribute to a team, and what role did you take on for that team specifically? When have you worked with a difficult person or faced a conflict, and what steps did you take to work through it? Talk about times when you had a great success or met a goal, and how did you get there? And what are times that you did something totally unique or exceptional? What was the time that you really took initiative? When it comes to behavioral questions, the STAR method is a great way to provide complete and compelling answers. STAR stands for Situation, Task, Action, Result. When providing your answer, start with the situation. What's the context? Explain the task you were given. Then talk about what action you took. Be specific here and talk about how you performed the task, not just what happened. Lastly, round out your answer with the result of your action. How did it turn out? Does it connect well to your future job? So for this common question, describe a time when you contributed to a team. Employers want to know what role you typically play when you're asked to work with others to accomplish something. They want to hear a well thought out answer that gives them a picture of you as a teammate. First, you would set the stage like this example at the Stripes store. Notice how in the task explanation, you're lending to your talents by talking about creating efficiencies and working with your team to strategize. By talking about buy-in from the staff, you add in how you like to gain consensus before moving forward. Then you detailed the action that you took. Now end with this successful outcome. Your contribution helped to create a useful system. By detailing your talents as well as what your team did all together, you paint a clear picture of how you work with others in the future. In addition to open-ended and behavioral questions, additional question types could include scenario questions, where you're given a situation and then asked how you would respond. Direct questions like, are you willing to travel? Or why did you leave your last job? Odd questions could include something like, which superhero would you be and why? Or who would play you in a movie? And a trend in interviews now is how an employer references a random bullet on your resume and asks you to expand on how it will help you do the job. Be prepared by knowing how everything on your resume is relevant to your future goals through transferable skills. In today's job search, online platforms are and will continue to be a common medium for employers to interview candidates. This includes two kinds of interviews: pre-recorded or a one-way interview, where you as the candidate record yourself answering a set of questions and then you send that recording to the employer, or live or two-way interviews, where you were speaking to the employer in real time but on a virtual software system. Your preparation for online interviewing is the same as it would be for in-person interviewing, with a few extra recommendations. Make sure you're in a quiet spot with little potential for interruption. Set yourself and your background by dressing like you would for a regular interview, except avoid patterned clothing if you can. Be aware of what the space looks like behind you. We recommend for you to either have a blank wall or stage your background with a few nice-looking items. Light yourself from the front. Avoid having a light or a window behind you, as it makes you appear shadowed. Place your computer or phone at eye level and look at the camera during that interview. Do a practice run to make sure everything is working correctly the day before if you can. On the day of the interview, test your audio and video well ahead of time and troubleshoot if needed. Be engaged at all times by giving lots of facial and nonverbal feedback while they're speaking. Because you're missing out on that in-person interaction, it helps to show the employer that you're excited and interested, even if you have that technology barrier between you. After you've prepared and given a great interview, it's important to end on a high note. Many times an employer will ask you if you have any questions for them at the end. Take advantage of this valuable opportunity to show them not only are you interested in learning more, but it will also help you to get information that you need to make a decision. You are interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you. Here are some examples of questions that can help you learn more about the position and the work culture. Ask a few questions to help you understand them better, and also leave the interview on a positive note in the eyes of the employer. Lastly, when it's over and you've gone home, don't forget to send a thank you note to everyone involved in your interview. It is courteous, it helps you to stand out amongst other candidates, and it can be sent either in handwritten form or via email. When reflecting on your interview, ask yourself, did you show them that you were self-aware? Did the interview become more of a conversation so you could show them your true personality? Did you provide examples and specific stories by which the employer can remember you? Did you avoid phrases like, I give 110% or I think outside the box, since many candidates say the same types of things? And did you give the employer a picture of how your experience will help you positively perform this job? By highlighting your strengths, showing that you've done your homework, and by being excited, you will stand out among the candidates for any position. Check out our resources online at career.missouri.edu, where you can find out an incredible amount of information on key career topics and to find ways to connect with the career specialist. They can talk to you individually about your interview, as well as these other career topics, anytime Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. on a drop-in basis. We look forward to seeing you.